Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another speed build. In this video I'm building a mansion inside a mountain, or to be honest, I built the house first and then I added the mountain around it, as you will see. So at first I wanted to build just a mansion on terrain, a couple of rocks, a waterfall, a couple of trees, and here as you can see I started to manipulate the terrain and I wanted to have multiple levels. So I have the level at the very bottom and then I raised it a little bit and then some more. So I just have these 3 different levels, and then I wanted to build a house on this, and this is what I'm doing here. And later on I had the brilliant, or hopefully brilliant, idea to just build a mountain around it. For this I used a lot of debug rocks, as always no CC, and I just had a lot of fun with the landscaping for this build and other debug rocks. You guys know that I love rocks. I just love to do some landscaping with some good old debug rocks, and this is what I did here. And I completely let loose. I just used so many different rocks and just, I don't know, you will see what I'm talking about. It was a lot of fun and truly crazy. But first it was time to work on this house, and I started off at the bottom and I used these get to work windows. I think they are part of get to work actually, and I sized them up and then I just placed them, and I didn't place them on a wall. I just put them down there as some type of sunroom because it just looks so much better sizing them up and placing them like this. It just looks beautiful. And then I did some tool mod magic. So I built this round roof and I just had to incorporate at least one small round shape here, and I used the tool mod to rotate these windows, and I've made a tutorial about this actually. If you're interested in learning how to do this yourself, you can check out my tutorial for this. And as always, a small disclaimer, this is still completely unmodded in the gallery. You don't need the mod to place and use this slot the way it is. So I just expanded the build, and here I used a little trick for the roof. In case you have no idea, when you pick up a roof and then you press Shift and C on your keyboard, you will have additional options for the roof. And this way you can, for example, work out this really curvy, wavy shape. It's so beautiful, and you sometimes see it in some suburban houses. Also, if you look up suburban houses or mansions on Pinterest, you're going to see a lot of these wavy roofs. It's really beautiful, especially when you place it over a door, for example, like in the very front of the house. So beautiful. And you just press Shift and C while either holding the roof or while hovering over the roof with your mouse. And then you have these additional small tiny white spheres popping up, and you can just manipulate the roof. You will see what I'm talking about. You just have to try it. When you like drag the small little spheres, you will see that you can just create this shape and many other shapes. To be honest, whenever I'm using a round roof, like when I want to shape a roof like this, I always activate these advanced roof options. I don't know what it's even called, but it was added in a update at some point, like years ago I think, and when I found out about it I was like super excited. It's like a game changer. It's amazing. And I've implemented a couple of these roofs because I have this little rule. I mean, it's not really a rule, but whenever I'm incorporating a feature like this in a build, I most of the time make sure to just repeat it, so I don't just have one random wavy roof somewhere. I don't know, this is like what I like to do. I think it looks more balanced, and most of the time this is what I do. And here at this point, a part of the build sits on the terrain at the very bottom, and then we have a different level which also sits at the terrain but on another level, and this makes the whole build look really interesting in my opinion. And this is what I was initially going for, and this is how I planned the whole build and how I shaped it. As always, I just added more and more stuff. I was kind of unhappy with the whole roof situation at first because I felt like it looks a bit boring, like I just have this big roof in the center. I don't know, but then I was kind of happy with it. I added a lot of columns, I pulled out the eaves, and then it looked more interesting. And then later on, as I said, I decided to just add a lot of rocks. But at first I'm going to work on the rocks on the right side. Then I'm going to add some type of small pond. It almost looks like a river. And this was also a bit of tool magic. You don't really need tool for this if you want to build something like this. But when you're placing a rock, it's kind of sitting on top of the terrain. It's kind of hovering sometimes almost. And it's really exhausting to place all these rocks without this mod, because what you can do with the tool mod is you just lower an object and that's it. So you can just place your rock on top of the terrain and then you lower it and that's it. But you could also always just build a basement underneath, and then you could place your rock in the basement and then you just press 9 to just elevate your object, and this way you could also find the correct position. The basement trick is what I always used before using this mod, but this is just so much easier in my opinion. But this is what I can just recommend. If you don't want to use any mods while building, just build a basement, place the object inside the basement and then press 9. And sometimes there's an issue where an object is like super gray or dark. It looks weird, as if it's in a shadow or something. What you can do is just place your object inside a wall in your basement, or just build a wall where you need it, and then when it's placed inside a wall, this little glitch goes away most of the time. You just have to try it. It totally depends on the object. It's like a little bit finicky. You just have to try it. So in the very beginning, I had already worked out the shape with the terrain tools, and here at this point I just had to add a lot of these debug rocks all around my slopes, and this is it. So I had already laid out the shape, I knew what I was going for, and then here I decided to have a little arch made out of rocks, and this was really fun. And I just decided this on a whim really, and here at this point the idea to have some type of mountain build was born. So this is how it all happened. I received some comments asking me about like my process, how I develop ideas, so I tried to talk about this a little bit more. Sometimes it's difficult because it just happens while I'm building. I develop ideas, and this is what happened here. So I just built this arch, and then I thought, okay, this looks so cool, and the build itself is quite simple, so why not using more rocks and just going all in and just making it a mountain build. And here I decided to use the base game bush, the flat base game bush, to just hide the slopes. That's something that I do most of the time. Whenever I see a slope and I want the build to look more polished, I just use this base game bush. Of course, the bb.moveObjects cheat is always activated for me. It indeed is, because I use MC Command Center and all my building cheats are activated by default. I can also totally recommend that. If you're into mods, I can just recommend it. This way you don't have to enter all the cheats all the time when loading up your game, and all my building cheats, also the live edit objects cheat or show hidden objects cheat, all of them are activated by default. And I can just get building right away, which is amazing. And then I built stairs, so your Sims will be able to just walk down there. Later on, I'm also going to add some stairs to the room at the bottom. There's going to be an indoor pool, which is really cool. Also a hot tub, and then the stairs will be leading up to this round shaped sunroom at the top that I built using the tool mod earlier. So at this point I have my pond, I have my arch, and then it was time to go crazy and I wanted to build another arch. I added this floor piece here, and then I added more debug rocks. And the cool thing is, when you're using these base game debug rocks for this, the floor piece is going to be embedded inside your rock, so the floor piece is not going to be visible. And I used the floor piece just to make it easier. I mean, just imagine building your rock at the very bottom and then just raising it up and up and up. Also, there's a limit. I think when you place an object at the very bottom and then you just press 9 to raise it, there's a limit and it's not going to be elevated anymore. So I just built my floppies, and then I just worked out my arch, and I used all kinds of different rocks. Usually I would just stick to one color, but here I wanted to have a combination of a dark gray and the super light gray, and it's just beautiful. It looks more natural, so I wanted to have a combination of all these different colors. And then I added some trees on top of this arch. I like to play Ark, and at this point it kind of reminded me of Ark, because you have these huge mountains and some natural bridges consisting out of terrain. It's like really crazy, and then you have all these trees on top. It looks really dreamy. And I wasn't inspired by Arc in the first place, but here at this point I just had to think of Arc. And then I repeated the same step on the left side. I just built another section made out of floor pieces, and then I added more debug rocks. And later on I'm going to change the position a little bit, because when you are furnishing this, like, you don't see from above that some of the rocks are glitching through the ceiling. But then when I was taking the screenshots from the interior using the pressing tab in live mode, then I noticed that some of the rocks were glitching through the ceiling, and then I just changed the position a little bit, and yeah, so I fixed that. And then I decided to build another pool and another waterfall. The waterfall, I don't know, I haven't mentioned this in this video, but I've talked about this before. It's also a debug object. It's animated, it's part of Island Living, and it's beautiful. And I thought, okay, it would be fun to have another water feature up there, to have another waterfall, so it looks all balanced and beautiful. At first I just had a room and a roof there, but I figured now that I want to have some type of fantasy mountain house, it would make sense to have another water feature up there, including a waterfall. And I think it turned out beautifully. And then I of course had to work on the front of the house. I tried to stay within the same theme. I always do that. So here I used the same windows that I had used in the back at the very bottom. Once again, I just sized them up and then I just placed them there. They are not placed on a wall. There's a wall right behind them. So of course the build itself and the room behind the windows is fully closed, because we just of course need some fully closed rooms. And then I later also decided to have a identical round shape here in the front, just so it looks balanced. I don't want the front to look totally different from the back of the house. I think this is always so tricky for some reason. Like when I of course you always start to work on one side of the house, or at least I do. I don't know. I know some people lay out the floor plan and all that, but I just start on one side and then I just expand the build. That's how I do it all the time. Here in Del Sol Valley, I tend to start in the back because the lighting is so beautiful. Then when I'm done with one side of the exterior, I just have to replicate the same kind of style, and for some reason that can be tricky, I don't know. And then I added more rocks. I built another huge arch. So here at this point I thought, I want more rocks. I want a bigger arch. I want more trees on top. I really want to have a fully fantasy crazy mountain house. I mean, it's not like one solid kind of mountain. There are just rocks everywhere and arches. I don't know, it's like a really creative fantasy approach. This is not really a proper mountain house, but I mean, I guess I hope that's what you guys are here for. I always just ring it and build some out of the ordinary stuff most of the time. I didn't want to build a super realistic house that was built inside a mountain. And then I added the good old spa day lighting stripes that are they're just perfect if you want to have some type of border between different floor tiles. I don't know, for some reason whenever I'm using different floor tiles next to each other, there's something missing. I don't know. I love this object. For this object alone, I would buy spa day. And then I just decorated the outside more. Here at this point, it was just all about decorating stuff. I used my debug objects. This is just a stone wall that I just placed, and I placed them on top of the fence, so the fence is embedded inside this wall. Then I found some fun debug columns that I just used to hide the actual columns. I had used the Discover University columns. This way I could just hide them, and it's a totally different look. I wish we had columns like these in the game, like really proper columns, because they are so much wider. They have a totally different look. All the columns that we got are super slim. There's only one exception, I think, again, a spa day object, like this really bulky spa day column. But even this one is much slimmer than this decorative debug column. I wish we had something like this, maybe one day in a pack, I don't know. So I just placed these columns, and then I added some bushes, which are part of Island Living actually, and I just wanted to make it beautiful. I had laid out the shape, I had made a decision on the whole color scheme, and now I just had to add a lot of stuff to make it look beautiful and just decorating everything, because it's all about the details and I just love to decorate and just add more stuff. Then I was working on the front again, and I was struggling with these stairs for some reason. Like, I don't know, there wasn't enough space to just bring them into the correct shape. But then luckily it worked out, and then I just added more rocks in the front, base game bushes, just some decorations. Also, I haven't talked about this yet, I think. I totally forgot to mention this in my last speed build, but actually, in case you guys have missed it, there was another vote for the community voted stuff pack, and this time we were able to vote for the name and the icon, which is just, it was fun. There were like so many funny options. Also love to knit, and it was spelled LUV. I don't know, just super fun. Maybe this one is going to win, I don't know. But yeah, in case you haven't voted yet, the vote might still be open. I'm not sure. I voted right away when the vote was open. Also for the icon, as I said, there are like different ones. I don't know, to be honest, when I was looking at the icons and the options that they gave us, I was just looking at it and I thought, which one is the most obvious one? Because when I'm in build mode, I oftentimes filter by pack, and I can totally recommend this. If you like to build and if you haven't used the filter options yet, it's amazing and it's so helpful. You can also filter by color, which is just wonderful. If you really want to stay within one color scheme, especially for the interior, in my opinion, it's a game changer and a lifesaver. It's amazing. So I really like to use the filter function in The Sims 4. And when I filter by pack, I really want to see immediately which pack it is. But also, to be honest, I've kind of memorized if it's like a newer pack, because it's always in a chronological order. So when I see it's like at the very bottom, at the moment, for example, in the stuff pack section, Tiny Living is at the very bottom. So this is like also a way how I memorize where can I find my packs, because I'm a quick builder and I'm like clicking super fast and I really want to know where I can find stuff. But yeah, when I was looking at the icon, I thought, okay, what does really look like a knitting stuff pack? And then I just chose the one with the basket and the wool inside. And yeah, really excited for this pack. I think that for me as a builder, it's just going to be really fun for furnishing houses. I mean, it's just a stuff pack, and I think that it will be a lot of fun for actual gameplay, because there are wonderful features in this pack. They have gone above and beyond for a stuff pack. The only stuff pack so far that had included a special feature was vintage glamour stuff. This pack includes the butler, but all other stuff packs are really just objects. Okay, in Tiny Living has this function to build a tiny house, and you can just set a limit. Is it a tiny macro home and all that? But besides that, stuff packs aren't that exciting, I'd say. But for the knitting stuff pack, or whatever it's going to be called, there will be different features. There's like a online store where your Sims will be able to sell the stuff that they knitted and made. I think like there's this wood carving option. I don't know, I never play the game, but anything your Sims have made themselves, like handmade stuff, can be sold online, and the Sims can earn money this way. And also, when your Sim has learned to knit something, for example, you can then find it in CAS and you can use it like for your family, and you can dress your family in a knitted sweater. I don't know. And then there's also a function for rocking chairs. The rocking chairs are actually rocking. They are functional. And when elders sit inside this chair, they can reminisce about their past, about the good and bad things that happened in their Sim life. And this is just so beautiful. And I was really blown away. I'm not really someone who plays, I just build all the time. But this really makes me want to play. It's so beautiful. And for stuff pack, I think it's really wonderful that they have included these small, beautiful features. It really put a smile on my face. It's really beautiful. And also, I think I want to build a house when the pack is out. Who knows when? We don't know yet. When the pack is out at some point, I really want to build like a beautiful, cute grandma cottage or something. I don't know. I mean, it's just a stuff pack. There are only objects that are useful for furnishing houses, so it's not really like a pack where you can say, okay, cool, island living, let's build an island mansion, cool, get famous, time for a celebrity mansion. It's not like that, because it's just a stuff pack. But I think the whole theme of the pack, knitting and all that, I really want to build a cute granny cottage or something. I've never built something like this before. Now I really want to build this, but I have to wait. I don't want to build a granny cottage now and then when the pack is out, so I'm just going to be patient, and you guys have to be patient as well. If you if you're interested in this type of build. I don't know. I always build huge houses. Maybe I'm going to manage to build a granny cottage that is like as big as I mentioned on a 64 by 64 lot. I don't know. I'm just going to have some fun with this pack once it's out. Also, let me know what you voted for. Like, which name did you pick? Which icon? I'm super curious. How do you go about your decision when you are voting for stuff like that? I think this is super interesting. Like, for me, as I said, it was like super simple. I want to have a simple icon. So when I look at it, while filtering for pack, I see, okay, knitting. That's like how I went about it. So let me know, how did you decide which icon would be the perfect one? But enough about knitting, let's talk about the interior. So I was going for a super luxurious over-the-top interior here. The outside looks more like a, I don't even know what it is. It looks like a really dreamy combination of just a suburban style Cape Cod elements and all of this combined into a over-the-top crazy mansion. So I don't know what this even is, but it has different elements, and I just figured because it's so over-the-top, I would also like to have a super over-the-top, beautiful, glamorous interior. So I used Get Famous floors and wallpapers, and then I just built a huge kitchen, as you saw, while I was rambling about knitting. And here I added a little bar in the corner. I really wanted this to be super over the top. There are 10 bedrooms in total. Yes, you heard right. 10 bedrooms. It's really big. It took a lot of time to furnish this, but I was like super in the zone. Like, sometimes furnishing can be exhausting. I think every builder knows what I'm talking about. Like, furnishing is just exhausting sometimes, and you need little breaks. When you're furnishing huge houses, it's something. But here I was like super in the zone, and I furnished the whole thing in one go almost. It still took some time, and it was still a bit exhausting, but I really enjoyed furnishing this. The whole house just came along so quickly. I've talked about this before. Sometimes I just take a day or something to just come up with an idea. Like, I never pre-plan my houses. I develop ideas as I go, but I just need an idea for what do I want to build. Is it a mansion? Yes, probably. Is it going to be modern? I don't know. A cabin? A fantasy kind of house? I don't know. So sometimes I just have no idea. I have builder's block, and sometimes I just know right away what I want to build, and this was the case here. I just started to build, and then I developed more ideas as I was building, as I explained, like the whole stone arch thing and all that. But like the house itself, how I manipulated the terrain, it just came along so quickly, and then it just all happened, and I really enjoy this. Like, for some builds I really have to think hard. Sometimes I just stop the recording and I think, okay, where do I go from here? Like, do I bulldoze this thing, or do I keep building? I don't know, but sometimes I really like to take my time to build stuff, and then sometimes it just happens. And of course, it's most pleasant when it just happens. As I said earlier, I have received comments about talking about the whole process and like, how do I develop ideas? And I really want to make a video about this. People were asking me for this, but I really have to think about how do I do this, because it's like so hard to explain. Most of the time it just happens while I build, and it can be quite complex, and I really want to make a video about this. I just have to figure out how to really explain this. Like, it's just a process in my head, and it just happens, and I really want to make a video to explain this. It's not like a really typical step-by-step tutorial thing. It's more abstract, but I'm going to think about this. Like, I really try to turn my thoughts into a video. And this is it, guys. Here you can see some screenshots. Of course, this build is available in the gallery, fully furnished, no CC, no mods, nothing. You can just download it and your Sims can move in. 10 bedrooms, a home gym, indoor pool. I didn't include all the bedrooms in this video because then this video would have probably been 1 hour long, and no one wants that. So yeah. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a perfect week. Stay safe and well, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye!